miss you all, guys. The first week of Split 2 is back. And of course, we have a lot of things to cover. I'm here excited to break down not just the game itself now, we also get to talk a lot about fantasy. And today, I think that's what that a lot of where the show will focus on, which is the fantasy aspect of LTA. Because I had fun. I think a lot of people also had fun talking about it. Just being Split able to
is back.
And have a great moment to watch other games and be excited. So yeah, let's get started. Let's dive in, dive down. So I'm a bit rusty. As I posted earlier today, one of the things we'll be doing is moving away from the audio, and everything will be now on video. So if you are wanting to join the fun, and have questions about the fantasy aspects, I am more than happy to walk you through my process. It's not the perfect process. I will let you know right off the bat. I had a couple of thoughts, ideas, and that went well, and other ideas that didn't go as well, but that's the nature of fantasy. But let's talk a little bit about what happened this weekend, and may give you some inspiration. So we'll dive in. Let's start with the games. We'll start with LTA South, just to give you a little glimpse. It has some fantasy implications. Some of the teams that I thought was going to dominate ended up really disappointing in week one, and that starts off with Esports Estral, who made it to first stand, looked very impressive, was one of the teams that really challenged our North team. They lost to Pain Gaming in a crushing fashion. This game ended in less than 30 minutes, and Pain just ran away with it. So Weiser, Karyok, Romer, Titan, Kuri, a very much top-heavy kind of a kill was happening at the top lane, and so gotta wonder what's happening with Esports Estral. And then we have Leviathan versus Furia. The other strong team was Leviathan. They managed to pull off a win. This was highly contested. 47 and a 47-minute game, 20 to 17 kills. That's a third total kill score of 13. Or that's a really bloody affair, and we once again see a lot of good things coming from Cody, coming from Pro Delta, but also on the other side for Furia, it's really they're not going down swinging. Then we have Vivo Keyed against Fluxo. I don't think I know Fluxo, and definitely Vivo Key win. Another long-ish game. I went to a total of 29 kills, with Vivo Keyed having a lot of good showing by the Samus, by Kissy, 10-0-8. Come on, that kind of scoreline, it's going to look very, very fantastic on the fantasy scoring sheet, if I may say so. And then we have Loud versus Red Cannons. This day really kind of came down with a little bit of a damper after the previous two games, right? When we have a 17-5 kills score game. And so Red Cannons came away with a win. Judging by their score line, I would say a lot more team fight was involved later on in the game, and nothing really much happening in the early part of the game. That's just my guess. And then let's look into day two. We have Furia and against Esports Estral again. Esports is really struggling. They're going 0-2 after being one of the stronger teams. You would expect Birdall, Jose Diodo, Snaker, all of them to really show up. But is this a sign of things to come? Is this just a first week fluke? That we have to keep an eye on, because that's going to impact how we want to go forward. And so far, after two games, they got crushed by Furia. And in a 26-minute game. Again, this game goes really fast. So there are implications, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But just to give you an idea, shorter games typically don't bode well. Typically, I'm not saying it's maybe like a 40% chance it will go well, but 60% chance it's likely it's going to be a lower scoring game, and the losing team will not hit value at any point. So kind of keep that in mind. Vivo Keyed versus Red Cannons. This is another banger. Vivo is going to be on everyone's radar right now between all these four players. And Morpheus, Kissy, Desamus continue to put a point. Trimby put a point. And Red, going on a 1-1 weekend with Vivo Keyed going 2-0. Next, we have Leviathan. They won but they scored fewer kills. So this will be interesting. I don't know if I have time to go back to watch this, but this is bear watching. Sometimes the winning team will have less kill score, and I put that at 10%. It may be a little bit higher in best of ones. I don't know. But in this case, the losing team has players that will, have a better score line. But at the end of the day, Leviathan did win. You'll get some bonuses for winning. Pretty interesting game to watch to see kind of what happened, going for 40 minutes and with a 31 total kill score. Then we have Loud versus Pain Gaming. Again, Loud, much more competitive, right? 35-minute game. Pain won 16-14, so very similar type of score line here. And again, if you had some Pain Gaming players in your lineup, they probably look well. Let me see what happened in the previous game. So Pain is quick. So right now the commonality I'm seeing is Isris really lose quickly, lose like a fast game. Pain, I don't know yet. So they might be just this middle of the road pack team, and so we'll see what happens going forward. Now, more excitedly, we'll talk about the LTA North, which I did get to watch most of the games, not all of them. Best of ones just continues to not be a format that will keep my attention throughout the day. I'll watch the games that I'm interested in, and it's over. Boom, I'm gone. If you give me a best of 3, I get to watch my favorite teams and maybe several teams all throughout because I want to see how it ended. I want to see, how the teams perform and bounce back or not bounce back, maybe dominate. Team Liquid against FlyQuest. This was a pretty one-sided game. And a lot of the stats, seems to come from the top jungle mid area. Team Liquid didn't look good. They look very disorganized. Look very much still reeling from first stand, and that may be part of the reason why they don't look as good in this game. And just not having enough downtime or rest time or to recover and get ready for this meta. But we're keeping an eye on it. This was pretty dominant victory. We'll talk a little bit about my fantasy team in a little bit because I had Masu and Busio in my lineup. Next, Shopify against Dignitas. This is a fun game to watch because we have no idea who's going to show up. Huge fan of Surdy, right? Let's see if Dignitas can come together, or is it this scrappy, team that streamers are backing Shopify. I know Cloudsiki was ecstatic at the outcome of this game. This game went for almost an hour, and only because Shopify was dominant in the beginning. Then they threw a mid that gave Dignitas the door to come back, but eventually Shopify was able to close out the door. I believe this is another game where Baron throw was involved, and so very, very nice if you had some Shopify in your lineup. These are the type of games you want to kind of target, where you don't know who's going to win. Lower ranked tier teams that have a tough time closing out games will give you a lot of high score. So this is a 35 total kill. The other one, 26. So let's look at Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. I had a lot of faith in Cloud9. And so now that has to shift a little bit, right? Thieves are not bad. In fact, they may just be top 3 with a contention for top 2, possibly, right? And Cloud9 continues to look solid, which translates to boring. Don's gonna kill me. But it's not a bad showing from them, but they just, once they lost that lead, once they learned how to harass Loki and pretty much kept Thanatos at bay, this team just did not figure the puzzle out on how to come back, and 100 Thieves just swept. This is a 35 kill game, so this is highly contested. And then we have Disguise versus Lion Gaming, and wouldn't you know it, and even though Disguise is a fan favorite, they really got dunked on by Lion Gaming, and 19-7 kill score, half an hour game. It brings up a lot of questions for Disguise of what's going on, but Lion Gaming looking good, looking not like a terrible bottom tier team. Very solid comp, I might ask. So that's day one. going on to day 2, Shopify now has a chance to kind of show whether it's a fluke or not. Now, in this game, it started rough for Cloud9. Shopify had a good game plan. I watched this closely, and Contracts over and over again invaded Blabber's jungle. He made a couple of really good play where he faked out Blabber coming around on the different side where Blabber had no vision and just constantly just stole his raptors. So Shopify was winning for a bit. Then I had to drive home, of course, and then when the time I got home, C9 just turned the table on them and really guest play through the bot lane, Sven and Vulcan, and that really helped them win the game. This is not a very high scoring game, 20 total kills altogether, and but the takeaway here is that Cloud9 continues to be solid, are trying to figure out ways to win coming from behind, and Shopify could just be the best of the bottom tier teams, and lots of excitement to look into. Then we have Team Liquid against 100 Thieves. This game, everyone now is like coming down on Liquid, and really respecting the Thieves a lot. And it kind of panned out that way in the early game too. Umpty, rough game. Impact, kind of rough with the Jays. People kept saying he should not be on a carry champion. And in the early discussion, it really looked one-sided, where 100 Thieves just had a really fast start. And eventually, one team fight led to another team fight where Team Liquid was able to pull it out. They have a lot of inspiration secondary rune now that I'm looking at it. This is crazy. But APA was the MVP of this game and showed up super well on the Azir. Shutting up the doubters, shutting up the haters, and I think they made a rally comeback. This is a 26 total kill. It's not a lot, but it's good. It's still good. Noting that it's what do we call it? Team Liquid has a lot to talk about, and whether they are really able to go forward or do they need to rethink some of their strategies. So this was not a great showing, even though they won. And for the 100 Thieves, it brings back some doubts. Maybe this is something that they just have trouble against Team Liquid, because it's very much happening again. They have an early lead and then they threw it. It only happens against Team Liquid for whatever reason. So now off to Disguise versus FlyQuest. As expected, should be a one-sided game, but actually Disguise really played it close with FlyQuest up until the midpoint of the game. This is a highly, highly bloody game. As you can tell, that's a 42 total kills. And lots of fantasy goodness here, right? From quad, just 10-3-10 scoreline. Overall, FlyQuest was never quite in danger of losing this game, but they did have a couple of slip-ups. And that did matter. They did what they need to do against a weaker opponent. And so it was a fun game. You get some good scoring out of some of the players from Disguise. And which gives us a little bit of glimpse of hope. Maybe Shopify and Disguise will be battling out for that 4th spot. And overall, these games have been playing around the average of 32 to 35, 36 minutes. So that's good. It means games are going in the early part of the late game, if that makes sense. Last game, Lion actually was able to beat Dignitas handily. Dignitas look really rough. They just did not look like they have a clue on how to play together, and a lot of that really bears out as Surdy just gets bullied by Licorice in lane, and all they needed was for the rest of the map to play the regular game. And Dignitas did not look like they have a game plan, did not look ready to be in this meta. Now, all of this is, of course, is week 1. It gives us some idea of how these teams prepared themselves. Weekend 2 typically surprises us with a lot of teams that look bad in week 1 will make a bounce back in week 2 in some form of way. But we have a good grasp of just what might be happening and where would we want to focus our attention. So yeah, let's talk fantasy for a little bit. I did not do so hot. I thought I bid on the Dignitas team, and that really cost me a lot of points. APA, despite his great second game, his first game was just awful, and so yeah, I have two teams actually. I had another team that played with FlyQuest. This one seems to have outscored FlyQuest, which is interesting. Masu was who I put all my eggs on a basket on, and ended up not working out well. Let me pull up my other team that I did post on social media, and that I typically am playing on. But overall, how did your LTA fantasy team do? Did you learn anything? Did you gain any perspectives about how you want to move forward in the second weekend? So we'll talk about some of my observations overall. The first thing that I learned is that scores get averaged between two games instead of stacking points, which unfortunately that's kind of what I hoped was going to happen. They average it out. This is in preparation for the best of series. I had a debate in the Discord, and I always get digged down in those Discord, right? People don't want points apparently. They say this is more fair. Individual performances make the most sense. I am more used to just award the team that did not have to play a game, right? And in so doing, that if they take the series, they will get a bonus set of points. Everyone from that team get a bonus, because the team made it happen so that they didn't have to play the additional game. And if they do play additional game, you get points that way too. So it can even out. It can be fair. But no, people apparently likes this age-old idea of individual performance only. That's not how League of Legends works, and I don't believe that's my preference. But this is what they'll probably go forward with. There is discussion of maybe only taking the average of the two best games, and that may be another way to go around it. I think that might be a compromise. I'm willing to contend with the devs, and I'll let the devs decide. But this is kind of how it played out for me. Didn't score well. Looking at across the leagues, the LTA Discord, I am number 46, so all the way down at the bottom. If you want to see my other team, this is the other team. Wait, no, this is not the other team. My fault. Where is my other team? We got some people that were very, very sharp. Be a fan. 36. So this one kind of performed better. This is my other team. I know I sneak in two teams. People will figure it out soon. But had a great score from Busio. Masu disappointed me despite, FlyQuest having dominant games. He was not the center of it. Probably go back to it depending on the market price for him. I had Cody. I thought, just pay up for mid or pay down on mid. I'm never paying in the middle because mid lane it's going to be proven to be volatile. You need a player that gets the 30% damage share, and based on last split score, not many of them do. Naturally, Cody wasn't bad. This actually was a decent score, but there were others that were scored around better. And of course, Dignitas was my mistake. It's the mistake of all mistakes. Picking teams that will lose, picking teams that won't win, will cost you a lot of points. And so Lunar Day, huge lead over everyone, and it's going to be quite it's going to take some time to catch up, but I think we can. He went fully on the LTA South kind of teams with Morpheus, Lions. Morpheus and Zothe. He picked on Vivokeed, he picked on Leviathan, and then dumped into FlyQuest, where he picked the correct FlyQuest players to score really well for them. So really well done. I think for the majority of people, they centered around their teams around Lion Gaming, which, very sharp. And this is a gamble that they will beat the DSG and Dignitas, which is currently the 2 worst team of the LTA North, and they got rewarded for that, right? You get Hannah, you'll see some combination of Saint, Hannah, Audieland, maybe even, and they scored very well across 2 games. Always look into the top 2, top 3 people and kind of see where they went. Interesting enough, nobody had the same roster. Very few even shared more than 2 players in the same roster. And so this was a very sharp roster, really, going with Reds, Furia. This person probably watches a lot more LTA South than us. And so overall, we're getting a sense that LTA South teams have been scoring well, despite noting that some of the LTA North games have a lot of good numbers in the total teams kills. It's just a matter of finding the right one. So that gives you an idea of what you do when you want to review your team and how to prepare going forward. Throughout the weeks, I'll give you some other hits and tips about how I'm going to be looking at how I'm going to do my own research. Naturally, everyone will, of course, look into the matchup first, and people will be gunning to play teams that will beat down on the lower teams and that will score well. So let's look at the schedule for next week. Already, you're going to have a lot of people who are trying to fit in Vivo Keyed because Loud is a very weak team. You can join in the fun. I think that's what the natural thing would be to do, but you can also fade them, not play any Vivo Key, and hoping that this will turn out to be a lower scoring weekend for them. Isurus against Fluxo, both are like bottom teams. This is a game that I'm going to be looking at and circling, going back to Isurus again, hoping that they make a bounce back. This will be a good game. Both are undefeated so far, and Leviathan and Reds will see who is going to pull out a win. I don't mind going here. Furia and Pain will play each other. Again, 2 strong-looking teams, kind of with a similar record, I believe. No, Furia lost the game, but they had a higher scoring individual players. And so this is another game you can circle around. Disguise against C9. So here's the thing. Disguise has been involved in a couple of high scoring games, but C9 still continues to be not that high scoring. And what I mean by that, very rarely do I see them hitting above 19 kills. You want a team that hits at the minimum 17 to give you some great scoring here. 17 team kills. So this is not a game that I'm going to be highly interested in, but I might be making a mistake based on my history in the other DFS game. 100 Thieves against FlyQuest. This has to be a firework, right? And people are going to doubt 100 Thieves. People are going to jump on the FlyQuest. We're going to see how the value plays out with that one. But this is another game you can go FlyQuest, or you can go 100 Thieves, where I don't see a lot of people having that faith in 100 Thieves except 100 Thieves fans. And if they win, I can assure you that will be a high kill game. At least that's what history tells me. Dignitas against Team Liquid. This going to pan out to be a boring-ish kind of game. I think you can go APA. I think you can go Yon. Nothing else from here that I want. Nobody will want to play Dignitas at all. Then you have Shopify against Lion. I think Lion will be very popular. You can go back to Keen. You can go. Henna. You can go back to Saint. You can go back to Audieland. You can go back to Lions. But don't forget that you can go the opposite. Go Shopify. Then the Sunday, we'll have Leviathan against Loud. Should be a Leviathan favorite. Don't know if it's going to break the slate, as they call it, a high score, but definitely can. This makes for a good Leviathan rostering some of the Leviathan players. Vivo Kid against Isurus. If Isurus continues to look bad, even in their win in game 1, I think Vivo Key might be worth having some players on there. Red against Pain, middle of the pack. We'll see kind of what kind of outcome they'll give us. And then a lot more Furia. Just play Furia. I think that's that's one of the options that you can go to for their top, maybe their jungle. Then on Sunday we have 100 Thief against Disguise. This could be a good game. This looks like a high scoring game to me. My initial thoughts. So if you believe 100 Thieves can beat FlyQuest, you'll get to double down and get a lot of points out of 100 Thieves from here. So be a believer or not. FlyQuest against Shopify will be probably FlyQuest dominant. I can see playing up for FlyQuest players if you want, but you probably can only afford one of them by the looks of it. The value will skyrocket them. Team Liquid against Lions. This is interesting. People will likely doubt on Team Liquid a little bit, and it'll be okay to play Lions, but I think Team Liquid will win in this capacity. I don't think, based on these two matchups, then that I have any much interest in Team Liquid players, aside maybe from APA. Then C9 against Dignitas. C9 against Disguise, C9 against Dignitas. It might be I'm not interested in playing any C9 players. With that said, they might be very cheap, so let's look at the pricing, how the market is looking like. Quid is very, very expensive at a 17.5 gold, but probably worth it based on how much he has scored. The average brands as well. Quad, Cody. These are some really expensive mother heifers. And then we're gonna have to fish for value if we want to pay for any of these players up until around Inspired. I think you're going to have to pay down somewhere. So let's look into each position very quickly. Zothfei might be one I'm interested in. Scored well. See, they price Castle up. Despite scoring low, it's because of the matchup that they account for in their algorithm. Bull will be... People will look into the average and kind of locked him in. He's Vivo keyed, so I don't mind that. Sniper, I don't want to pay for Thanatos anymore based on what the matchup that we just saw. There might be a... I mean, Hidan. And Birdall are the two that might be the value play that I'm looking at. Top has been scoring a lot in this meta, or at least in the first weekend, so I'm surprised by that. They get a lot more bonus points for their solo kills, so I don't think I will try to be cheap with top lanes anymore. Jungle, we see Karyak, Inspired, River, very expensive. The Samus has a good score for being 12. This is probably just about right where he's valued at. Jose is still priced very highly despite having a very poor weekend, and this weekend I don't think I see a strong showing, so I don't want to pay here. Blabber, again, involved in not so high scoring game, and so you're looking at contracts, you're looking at Audieland, you're looking at maybe even Shiden. I mean, for the cheapest jungle you can find, Shiden giving you 10 points seems to be better than paying up for certain players that score you less than an average of 10 points, or maybe even 12 points is not going to be a good value if you pay all the way up here and Shiden scores close, right? Look at Doom, look at Audieland, and I would say, yeah, you're looking to pay up on jungle, to be quite honest. Mid, the scores are eye-popping. I know, like Saint, Cody, Quad, Quid. They have some fairly easy matchup, but they are super expensive. This is a position I'm going to continue to be either paying really, really high for them or looking for value. And I'm not looking at Badaga, I'm not looking at Palafox, I'm not looking at Keen. I'll start with Mago Tuts and up, and just to hope that land value somewhere in this area. If you're paying up for here, just know that you're likely not going to get your choice of top lane. Bottom lane, not bad. I think the pricing is fairly fair. And as you can see here, the score is on average fairly similar. You have Pop-Off play by IU. I think he'll be a very famous, popular play. Masu is still a good value in my opinion, and I think, and I'm hoping for a bounce back. Henna is playable. B-Boy, and I think that's kind of where I'm thinking. And support, as I kind of hypothesized, support really does have this boom or bust now. I thought they would average out a little bit better, but the bonuses hit really well, and they're scoring. The good ones score just as well as a mid and a bottom, and yet you're not paying the price of a mid and a bottom, and so you can go to Gwigs all the way down and still have good value out of that. You can play. I don't even know why Trimby is down here with that kind of score, and they have a fair matchup. I think this week, he's gonna be popular. Trimby. You can go back to Busio. I think this is where the fair value kind of lies. Everyone else seems really expensive, and I hope that gives you some idea of how to kind of think about and building your roster. People, first thing that I'll do is look in the average score and then pick the best value, best gold. Just know that next week things might change. The whole whoever wins, whoever loses, it's not set yet. My remaining budget is low just because I think I scored fairly poorly, so I have to really play on budget right now. I've lost about almost 5 total gold from last week. So this week will be a one where I am likely not able to pay up for the high end players. My last tip. I know it says betting. I have never sports bet in my life, but this is a tool that I encourage some of you if you want to take your fantasy game to a different level, right? Go to bovada.lv/sports. You can click on all sports, go to esports, and then let's go to League of Legends and LTA split. LTA split. We can look into first the South. This is helpful for me because I don't get a chance to watch all the South play, but this will give me an idea of what the typical sentiment is, who might win. So we have Loud against Vivo Keed. The odds are set at -240 plus 180. This is roughly translated to Loud will win roughly 60% or 60 to 70%. And Vivo Keed will be an underdog, which is interesting. So they're projecting Loud to win. And then we have Isra's Estral against Fluxo, -650. They're expecting Isra's Estral to win 75 to 80% of the time over Fluxo. This is how it translates in my head. Red Canids and Leviathan will be a very even game. Both are in minuses. That means this is close to a 50-50 coin flip type of game. Pain game against Furia, where Pain is more the favorite here by a healthy margin, maybe 55%. Right, 55. That sounds about right. No, more than 55%. I think this is 60% of the time. So Pain Gaming is favored here. These are just rough estimates to tell you like who are projected to be favorites, and you want teams that are favorites to pick your players on that team. Let me see. Do they have? I don't see the odds yet for others. As time goes by, they'll probably release the odds, so that way you can see LTA North as well, and maybe Sunday games. But this is another tool that I often use to kind of help me find value, find players that I think are in winning games, and winning has a high correlation with the amount of points scored. So, folks, thank you for joining me. Hope you learned something, and just tune in. Catch me up on Twitter. I am at Be a Fan. I am at Prime with a 3 Prim 3 LOL. I will definitely love talking fantasy. I love talking LOL esports. And until next time, folks, you continue to be a fan.